One quick second. There we go. Okay. Welcome everybody to our Monday night team call. We are into March and it is awesome. There's a lot going on, super fun stuff. And we're going to hit the basics hard tonight and just try to rev everybody up and get you excited so we can get out there and talk to more people. We're going to kick it off real quick. Marie's going to introduce her newest team members who are all on tonight. And Marie, if you wanted to say one nice thing about them, and then if you guys want to unmute yourself and say hi to the group, that would be awesome. And then we'll kick into the training. Okay.
Sure. So Gretchen, I've known Gretchen the longest. She was actually a summer intern at the company that I used to work for back in South Florida. So we met in Florida. She went to Phoenix. I came to Colorado. And now she's here, and I'm so happy.
Awesome.
And then Lori and I have known each other for quite a while as well. We used to work at Adams 12 School District here in Colorado together in the IT department. And both of us have left the school district, but we have never kept touch, or excuse me, have never lost touch, because Lori's like one of my favorite people in all of Colorado. She has such a beautiful smile and such a beautiful heart, and I'm so glad she's here with us tonight. And Adam, I just met.
Yep.
I met his fiance. They weren't engaged at the time. His girlfriend at the time, last October at a home show. I had a vendor booth there, and she stopped by, and she was very interested. Plus, she's like, I think this is something that my boyfriend could really get into. So, we've kind of kept in touch off and on here and there and had coffee. And then I invited her to the Wine and Wellness. And I said, you should bring your boyfriend. And he's like, well, he can't come because he's working nights right now. And lo and behold, they both show up at the Wine and Wellness. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. I was like, it was so nice to meet him. And I'm so happy to have him on our team now. I'm like, yay.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. I love you guys so much. So what's so fun about this last week, I just want to highlight Marie. I know I went live today and talked a little bit about how amazing she is and what a great job she did. But in all seriousness, you guys, like what we're going to talk about tonight is the power of events and the power of your story, and really just, talking and getting out of your comfort zone and inviting. Because one of the things that Marie did so eloquently on this trip was we did a blitz week. So we kind of revved up into it by, contacting, inviting, following up. She did everything right. She followed the system completely. She got a lot of people in front of me, made a great use of the trip. And then, one thing leads to the next. And what I know about this business to be true is that it's just a series of exposures, right, for people. And if you, Gretchen and Lori, I think both of you had exposures previously with Sal in a Jar parties, correct? Did I get that right? And then Gretchen came with us and got to meet the team. So she had an exposure there, right? At the Sailor Ranch when we went. So there's a series. And then Adam was just brave enough, frankly, to jump in. And his fiance is a rock star in Mary Kay. And so he's got some thumbs up. So she gave him some real encouragement there. And I can't, say enough about that, because when you bring people together, there's a cumulative energy that kind of takes over. And I know I kind of nudged you a little bit, Adam, to join that night. But the reason I did that is because I could see your heart and what a good fit this was going to be. And, kudos to you for just having the faith to take that step, And
I think it was Kaylee that was nudging him to do it.
I agree. We kind of tag teamed on that one. It was great. But the point being that, when you set the events in place and you invite the people to come and you share stories, for lack of a better word, stories sell, right? Because those are the things that people can connect to. The nice part for us is that we're really backed up by research, which gives us validity, and that separates us from everything else. So bottom line is we have a kind of common sense product. I think everybody would agree, right? The more fruits and vegetables we eat, the more protected we are from everything. And really the idea is that we just want to find enough people that have a desire to add more fruits and vegetables to their diet and take that step with us. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight in terms of sharing our story. So I would love to have a volunteer from the crowd, a seasoned person, if you would, that would be willing to share maybe how they open up conversations and share their story. And I'm thinking of somebody who's wearing blue because she does such a beautiful job at this, but I don't know if I can call anybody else.
I'm wearing blue. I don't know if it's me, but I'm
would you be so kind?
I've got blue too.
Who else
I'm
is
just
wearing blue?
thinking, well, I'm just thinking because I keep getting these messages from Krista, and she's like, you know, she goes to the city, she's meeting somebody for coffee. She just shares this thing. Oh, by the way, my friend from high school who I haven't talked to since high school is going to get on the phone with you and needs to talk about, I'm like, it's over.
She does.
And over and over again. You do such a beautiful job with it. So if you would be so kind to illustrate for them, you know, just how you make a connection with somebody and then how you share your story after that. And I know I'm totally putting you on the spot, so give her a lot of credit for
I'm trying to
this.
think of really what to say. First of all, my friend from high school actually told me today, and this is why social media is really important, because she's been watching me on my posts. And she said that there's just something that she kept seeing over and over again that just drew her to me. And we actually bumped into each other several months back at one of our friends from high school passed away. And I was leaving the wake and she was coming in, and we just said hello to each other. And, you know, we got to have coffee, that kind of thing. But she had just started, I think, well, I didn't really notice her. You know what I mean? Like, we were not really friends. But anyway, so close friends. But we just have gotten closer since then and finally been planning to get together. And so social media is really important and what you're posting. And it does attract the right people, I think, you know?
It's true.
But a lot of the times, like, even when I'm traveling, especially when you're in Uber, there's always conversation going on, and they always seem to ask you, what are you here for? Business or pleasure? And I will always, I mean, usually I'm away and it's business related, or there's somehow I'm weaving my business into it. So I always say business just because I want to start that conversation with them about what I do. And that just happened to me in Dallas last month. That Danielle and I just had a conversation with. So they want to be on our team. And I'll be heading out there next month for an event that he's doing for a charity. He runs a homeless charity. So anyway, you know, that's one of the things too that I always do, say business. And then once they ask, I start just saying like, oh, I have a health and wellness business. Well, what is that? And I said, well, I do a little bit of this and that, but I'm also a distributor for a really great company called the Juice Plus Company. Have you heard of that? And it just starts, no, I haven't. You know, usually they say no, or maybe they say, oh, it does sound familiar. And then I'll go into a little bit about what it is very quickly, like that 30-second quick thing that we have, which I don't know if the newer folks know that, but the 30-second, you know, just, you know, would you
model it? Yeah. Would you model it for me? So I'm
trying to think now.
Christiane, what is it? What is it? No, I haven't heard about it.
Yeah. So Juice Plus is whole food based nutrition. It's fruits and vegetables and berries that are dehydrated and concentrated into capsules or gummies. And it just made sense to me because,
there you go.
You know, and then you say your reasons why it made sense to you to take it or to share it with your family and this, that, and the other thing. And that's usually what I do, like 30 seconds, it's out there. And I do always try to remember to keep some sort of brochure or a sample of a shake or a gummy packet in my purse or in a backpack or somewhere. So that gentleman in the Uber driver in Dallas, I mean, we had this whole conversation when he was driving me to Cedar Ranch back to the Hertz to meet you. We had a whole conversation for a half an hour. And when I got out of the car to meet you guys at Hertz, I had a brochure, I had information that I gave him and got his information. He wrote down his number. So it just, sometimes it really works out very well, but is that what really, am I answering the question that you?
Yeah, no, you're doing great. So the whole point, what I'm taking away from this is that you find a way to make it conversational, right? So it's not so much as a pitch as it is, you're sharing your own personal experience. And the key phrase in there, what she said was, it made sense to me because, right? When you can say those words, it made sense to me because, you're giving this like easy on-ramp for them to believe too, like it makes sense to me too, right? Like those words will stick with people. So that's the biggest piece. And then so the 30-second kind of, thank you so much, Chris Ann. I so appreciate it. And just want to point this out too. She talks to everybody, right? So she's one of those people who consistently shares all the time. Ann's laughing, but you're right. She does. She talks to everybody. I know that about her, right? So, and a lot of us do. And so the more people you talk to, the better your odds are going to be, right? But there's a couple key things to get in there. And I know this is, some things that a lot of you have heard before, but this is so important. It bears repeating, right? So, these are the 3 things I like to include in my short pitch story when I have, this is going to open the door for people and then give you an opportunity to have a further discussion past there. And usually in the back end discussion, like you had a half an hour in the car with this guy, if I have a bigger opportunity, like a 30-minute, then I'm going to ask them a lot of questions. I'm going to use that time to listen to them and to get to know why this would make sense for them. And usually if I spend my time listening, by the end of it, they've already talked themselves into either ordering or signing up. It's really interesting. So in the beginning of it, a lot of times I opened the conversation. I was same situation, actually. I was in an Uber driver at 4:00 in the morning on my way to the airport to meet, to get a plane to go see Marie. And the gal who picked me up, on her Uber thing, it said, known for great conversation. And I was like, okay, cool, right? So like sometimes you get little like nuggets like that, right? I mean, literally the sun was rising. So we're sitting there looking at the sunrise from my front porch. It was hysterical. And so we hit it off right away. She helped me get the suitcase in. We get there, we're driving across. And I said, so how long have you been doing this? I always ask that question to Uber drivers because they're usually doing this to supplement something else, right? And she got to talking and she, this is talking a 15-minute drive. Okay. So it doesn't take a long time to establish a relationship with somebody, you guys. Just have faith in your skill set and know that the more you do this, it's just practice, right? For the right person to come along. But she said she had a stethoscope around her mirror in her car. And she said, she goes, yeah, I've been doing it for a couple of weeks because I've been out from work. I got injured at work and I haven't been able to go back. I'm a nurse. And I said, oh, interesting. I said, that makes sense. Right. And then I said, so tell me, a little bit, what's the most interesting person that you've, experienced or driven so far? And she had to sit and think, or I said impactful, not interesting. I said, who's the most impactful person that you've driven so far? Because she said to me before that, how it's been like all these different people from all over the world. And she never thought she'd meet these people and, athletes and this and that or whatever. So when I asked her that question, impactful, it made her think, right? Now I'm being conversational. I'm being inquisitive. I'm getting to know her a little bit. And she stopped and she said, what? It must've been the woman yesterday that I drove. And I said, oh, really? Tell me about her. She said, she's a single mom. She just went through a terrible divorce. She was beaten and battered by her husband. And now the state is making her pay alimony to him because she makes more money. So she's having to pay money to this person who was awful to her. And I could hear her heart, right? And so my point is that I was getting to know her. I was kind of taking that step. And she said, I drove her and we spent 30 minutes in the car. And afterwards, after the destination we got there, we've still been in touch. Like we've been transferring numbers back and forth. So as a seasoned representative, here I am thinking, okay, she has the ability to create conversation because that's already been posted about her on her thing. She has a helper's heart because she's wanting to serve this woman who's in a place of need, right? She was able to get her contact information and keep in touch and create a relationship and give her some advice who the woman actually followed already in a short amount of time just from driving her somewhere. So she's relatable, right? And she can get into relationships with people. So I just said to her, listen, well, with all due respect, we've only got 5 minutes left of this car ride. I'm just going to come out and say this. What I do for a living is I help people get healthy. I said, I pay forward the gifts that have been given to me. And part of that is giving, people an opportunity to build a secondary income that can sometimes transfer into a full-time income, if that's what they choose to do with it. And I think that you would be an incredible fit because you have such a huge heart and you're coming from the health field and all of this is based in medical research. If you're open to some information, I'd love to share it with you. Now, I didn't say Juice Plus once, right? But I made a point to edify everything I saw good in her and connect that to the connection of what we have to offer. Do you see that? To create the bridge. So our story then she wanted to hear my story. You see, like before it probably, would have just been another drive, but because I had something of importance to offer her, she was really intrigued, and she's like, can you please, she goes, okay, we're almost there. I know you need to get to your flight. Can you take my number down right now? I mean, she's asking me, you know? And I said, yeah, you know, I said, so I took her phone in my, I took her number in my phone. I said, I'm going to do my best to get this to you right away because, and I'm not trying to be over eager. It's just that if I don't do it now, I've got a big week in front of me. I don't want to forget it and let it fall through the cracks. Plus it'll give you some time to think about it while I'm away. Right? You see how I'm planting those seeds, right? And then I could follow up with you when I get back in town and we've got these 2 events. And she said, oh my gosh, the 21st, that would work. Yep. The 28th. Yeah, that would work. And she said, okay, can I bring my son? Because he's looking for something that sounds almost perfectly, you know, in line with what he was looking for. So do you see how already she's thinking about connecting? So some people in this world are just natural networkers, and you want to be looking for those. Those are going to be your teammates, right? Then there's other people who are going to join in the experience and have a great product experience. And they're the ones that are going to start to naturally share because they're just good-hearted people, right? And they just, why keep a good thing a secret? So there's lots of different ways that people walk into this business. You just want to cast a wide net. And the way that we do that is by, you know, building our story and repeating our story and practicing our story as frequently as often as we can. So, and it's important that if you're not getting results from sharing, that you really practice with an upline or go out in public somewhere where your upline support or sideline friend can see you. Because if we're being honest and constructive with each other, we can give some good solid feedback. Sometimes you're saying exactly what you need to say, but the energy isn't there, or the facial expression isn't there, or, you know, you're not leaning into the person or making eye contact. You know, there's sometimes it's just like a physical thing that you want to shift. So that's why having that second pair of eyes is important. And that's why a lot of the times we do 3-way calls, we do 3-way Zooms, we do, you know, events with buddies, all that kind of stuff for a good reason, right? Because we can edify it, and it just increases the positive vibe that goes around. So the three parts of the story that I always like to put in there is, you know, I first heard about Juice Plus from, and then fill in the blank, and I'll give the new people a chance to write that down. You want to be as generic as possible on the back end of that. So I first heard about Juice Plus from, if it's a friend, my husband, my doctor, whoever, as generic as possible. Try not to fill in names, because this is going to sound silly, but it's really true. Like, you know, if I say Willy Wonka, right, that evokes an emotion, right? So if you just happen to pick the wrong emotion, like, and you don't know, right, it can shut people off. So just be as generic as possible. I first heard about Juice Plus from blank. It made sense to me because that was the piece Chrisanne was, you know, really, that was the bridge in her statement there. And usually it's just, again, generic is better because you're casting a wider net. So for me, I first heard about Juice Plus from my husband. It made sense to me because I was looking for a way to get more fruits and vegetables into my diet. See, already I've educated them on something. And since I've been taking it, it's been, gosh, over a decade now, you know. And then you list the 3 things that you either have experienced, because if you've been on it for a while. So for me, my digestion got better, my energy increased, and my migraines went away. And I was blown away by that, right? If you are just starting, you know, since I've added it to my diet, because you've all ordered your product, I have the peace of mind, right, that I'm getting a little bit of the rainbow every single day. And that just brings so much, you know, confidence to me that I'm feeding my body right, or something to that effect, right? I have the peace of mind, or I'm excited to, you know, see where this takes me, or whatever, you know, but just, you want to just edify your decision in that last statement there. Any questions about that? I see people writing, which is good.
Can I ask a question?
Of course. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to step away for a second. I've been a little in and out. Is this the 30-second story you're talking about?
We're talking about opening conversations with people, you know, because we've got a lot of new people on the team. And so I find that this particular type of story makes it easier to open up a discussion that carries out later on. Does that make sense? Like,
so can you give an example of how you would start just talking to someone and say, I've heard about Juice Plus? Like, what came before that?
So like the example I gave was the gal who was the Uber driver that I had.
Yeah,
right?
I heard that. Okay.
So in, you know, I just came out to her and just offered her an invitation because we only had X amount of time and I had seen a connection between what she was telling me and what I had to offer. And because the time was so limited and I had no external communication with her, I said, I just want to, out of respect, like offer this to you and see if it makes sense to you, we can, take the conversation out later. And she bit on that. Like, not everybody's going to do that, but just given there were so many parallels that it made sense there. But let's say it was a longer drive, right? So, and I was asking her, and my question to her was, who was the most impactful person that you had driven so far? And she was telling me about this woman that she was able to impact, right? I might then say something like, well, that's, such a beautiful story. And that's honestly why I love so much what I do. And you see how I'm bridging her story to mine right there? It's all about creating a bridge, right? So find the parallel and then connect it. If somebody's talking about, she could have said, I could have asked a different question. So, it's springtime. Are you doing anything for your health in the month of March? I could have asked her that question. See how that's an open-ended question about her, right? It's all about opening dialogue. And the way that we do that is just, creating an opportunity for them to give us some feedback into their world. And then when we see the bridge, sometimes you have to dig a little bit. Sometimes you have to ask a couple of questions, right? But once you get to the bottom line, Christiane gave a great example of social media, because she's been really doing such a great job of putting her pictures up and showing her lifestyle and how she lives. And she lives this healthy life and this adventurous life, and she travels and she has fun. Who wouldn't want to hang out with Christiane and join her team? Like, honestly, it's like, really, that last picture with you sitting with like the circle and the V and the perfect legs crossed, I was like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. Like, it's fun. And if you guys aren't friends with her on Facebook, friend her so you can watch what she's doing and you can see, right, what she's kind of putting out there. But the consistency piece is important. So my point being is that we're looking for ways to bridge the conversation with people. And the only thing that's gonna, you can create all these parallels, you can put all this stuff on social media, but if you don't have the conversations, then you never get to the space where you need to be to move things forward, right? And that's the thing that she does so beautifully, is like, she always connects the two and asks and moves forward. So I hope I answered the question. I think I did a little roundabout there, but the point being that, so in that situation in the car, I might ask, so tell me what you're doing. Have you made any New Year's resolutions? Have you stuck to them? That's another question you can ask people this time of year, right? And it's just, you're just being conversational. You're just asking questions, right? And then in the process of them telling you their story, you're going to be able to have an opportunity to share yours. And so, like I said before about the impactful gal, I would say, that's why I love so much what I do. And then she's going to say, what do you do? Right? Of course. Because I didn't just blurt it all out. Right. And then I get a chance to say, I own a health and wellness business, or I kind of changes depending on who I'm talking to. I usually say I retired myself from corporate America about 10 years. I've been really focused on getting people healthy and paying forward the gifts that have been given to me since then. I have a team of about 300 people around the country, and I love them to pieces. And together, we really help make an impact in this world. Now, I didn't say anything about a product. I didn't say anything about whatever, but I gave a lot of opportunity for her to say, what is it that you do? You have a team? What is it that you, right? And then to get into that conversation. And then I can just say that usually I say, something about Juice Plus at that point. Yeah, I'm a representative for Juice Plus. It's fruits and vegetables in a capsule. Have you heard of it? I always ask that at the end. Have you heard of it? And then they say yes or no. If they say yes, I go, oh my gosh, you're one of the lucky ones. Are you taking it? How long have you been taking it? And then they go, oh, I'm either taking it, or, oh, I used to take it when I was little, or, they give me a bunch of different variety of answers out here. Right. But then I go to the next step, Jen, just to answer, which is, I'm just so lucky. I feel so fortunate. I first heard about Juice Plus from my husband. It made sense to me because I was looking for a way to get more fruits and vegetables into my diet. And since I've added it, I've had some really great experiences, and then I list my 3 things. And then I ask them, have you considered getting back on the product? Or have you ever considered trying it? Or, would you be open to some information? Really, fruits and vegetables don't discriminate, they help everybody. I love to say that one.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Other questions around that? I want to check the time here. I feel like we're at the end. There we are. Okay. Let's take 5 minutes right now. We're going to, if you have a question, just unmute yourself and ask it really quick, because this is all about you guys. And if not, then we're going to talk a little bit about events really quick. I was highlighting Marie in the beginning, and I wanted to do this on purpose because she did such a great job, but also we illustrated something for you guys, and that's the power of blitzing events, which is, tag teaming 2 or 3 events right back and forth with each other, because it gives people a couple things. One, it empowers you to get your butt in gear and get some people there, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is it gives people options. You can say, hey, listen, I've got 3 events coming up over the weekend, and this is what they look like. I've got, I wanted to check in with you and see which one would make, which one is of most interest, or which one you might be able to come to. And then you get to tell them a little bit about the different types of events. We had, Marie has a networking group that they call themselves the grandmas or the kindred spirits, but it's a bunch of retired women, right, who are of the age of where they're starting to really consider, their health and take a look at that. And they also have a lot of grandkids, so they're concerned about that as well. So we made a point in that presentation to touch on those 2 aspects a lot. And there were a lot of questions that came out of it, and a lot of great women. Really great women we got to meet. The next event was a wine and wellness at her house. And then the next event, which you guys are mostly familiar with. And then the next event was a smoothie morning where we talked about the shred, and she got to share her experience. And then we left an open event in the evening that second night for a business event, because we knew that if we talk to enough people, there's going to be enough, interest in joining the business. So typically 1 out of 10, we met with 25 new people and 3 signed up. So that's a little bit better odds than 1 out of 10, right? But that gives you kind of an idea. If you're looking to add 3 people to your team, you want to talk to 30, right? And you want the help of somebody that can edify you and make that look good. So Danielle, I asked her to step in here and talk a little bit, since she's our queen of events out here, about building events. We're going to take you guys through a little exercise just to put some things on your calendar for the rest of the month, because this is a big, big month. And Danielle, I'll just, with that, turn it over to you.
Okay. Can you hear me? I have a guest with me. Okay. Sorry. Okay. All right. So just to touch a little bit upon events, and I'll be quick because it's been a while that we've been on the call, and it's a lot of really, really great information that has been shared, and your story is so hugely important. So the power of events is huge, as we heard from the beautiful illustration that Marie was able to do. And I am in awe of you for pulling that off and really making use of your time and making use of Melissa's time for coming out there, right, as your upline leader, to support you through that, which is amazing, and the beautiful, example of team. And so events are hugely important to build your business, because you're able to get a lot of people into a space where you can share information with them all at once. One-on-ones are great, and you'll always be doing that. When you can get a bunch of people into a room together, it kind of changes the energy, and it makes for a lot of fun. So I grew my business doing events, but what we usually say when you're holding events is that you want to have, if you can, have your sponsor there with you, or an upline leader there with you, to kind of help model for you how we do events. And when you're seasoned enough in this business, you can kind of pick things out. Like, I'm sure Melissa, being there with Marie, was able to kind of pull some conversations out, that maybe wouldn't have been had, or overhear conversations and be able to kind of go where maybe she might be needed to direct things, to kind of pull things along further. And so it's always beneficial to have a seasoned upline with you if that's possible. Now, having said that, though, it might not always be the case. And so in my example, when I grew this business, I know Melissa, when she introduced me on, she said events out here. Melissa's in California. I'm in New York, for those that I haven't met yet. And Melissa is my sponsor. But she wasn't here in New York when I was growing my business. And I didn't have her or any team at all to do my events. And sometimes that is the case. I know that's the case for a handful of people on our team now, is that they're in cities or states where they don't have their sponsor with them or their upline leader. close by. That doesn't mean you should shy away from doing events, but there is power in numbers. So if you have been doing this and you've got some customers, you know, under you and they're having a good experience, you want them in the room because they can be there to edify everything that you're saying. They could be another amener. They can share their story. And so, of course, when I first started this, my very first event, I had literally no one, but it just worked really well. And I think everybody felt bad for me that I was probably so nervous. They just signed up. But what I learned through that experience too is I would always invite my customers to every event. And if I needed to, and I had at least one happy customer coming, I would talk to them in advance and I would talk to them about the event and share who might be coming. And I would kind of coach them a little bit about, would you mind sharing your story? You have such an amazing story. You're having a really great experience. I'd love my friend Sally to hear about your story. I think it could really impact her. And of course, they feel honored, they feel flattered, and they want to share their experience as well. And what that kind of also does too, a couple of things. One, they're able to share their story, which it reinforces the products and helps, right, edify whatever it's you've been saying for this person, this new Sally person. And it also kind of gives them a little taste of how we do this business, right? It gives them a little insight into being a distributor themselves. They're already kind of starting to do the work and they don't even realize. So when that happy customer is having such a great experience and you realize they would make a great team member, it makes that conversation even easier. So that's, I think, all I really wanted to share tonight. Because I have a little one, I have to get back into bed.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing I want to add to that was that a lot of times what we do when we're remote like that. So because we sign up people all over the place, and we have some people that are out in Florida on their own. You know, Marie was in Colorado for a while on her own. Like there's different places, and just one thing that you can always do too is offer a lifeline. So it's nice as a sponsor to be able to offer that support to your team members. So if you know that they're doing an event, you want to coach them through getting it set up, you know, some of the tricks and tips. You don't want to spend $1 gazillion on this stuff. You want to make yourself be really duplicatable. So keep it simple. If people offer to bring something, say yes. That's one trick that I learned way too late in this business. But if they say, you know, can I bring something? You say, sure. What would you like to bring? You know, empower them to do that because they're more likely to show up if they know that they're bringing something for the group, right? That's one thing. Yes. And then, you know, and then that lifeline piece, and Danielle does this beautifully for her team, and I do it for a lot of you guys too, which is, you know, if you have an event and you know it's happening, we can either be on call on the phone. So when you get to the end, and we did this a lot, you know, her and I, and the time difference was sometimes awkward, right? But we just made it work. And usually she never needed me, but it was nice to know that I was there, I'm sure, you know, and I have always felt that way, you know, to have support on the other side. So it's just knowing that if you get into a situation where somebody asks you a question that you can't necessarily answer, just know that the best way to respond to that, in my opinion, is to say, that is such a great question. Like, edify them, right? Make them feel good. That is such a great question. Let me see if I can get someone on the phone right now, you know, to get the answer for you. And if not, I'll just make a point to get it to you tomorrow, you know? But you give them the confidence that they just did something good, because you want people asking you questions. You don't want them going to Dr. Google and trying to figure out their stuff on the internet. It gets into the crazy weeds and there's everybody saying everything and whatever, right? But we know if they come to us, then we can, you know, guide them and direct them in the right places. And if you can get them on a phone call, and sometimes you may even know the answer, but if you know that that's a person that you want long-term, either on your team or as a long-term customer, that's a great way to say, to hold back the answer and say, that's such a great question. Let me see if Danielle's available. Hold on a second, you know, and then text box, or as we say, put up a smoke signal, you know, whatever you got to do to get our attention and see if you can get us on. But that's another way. So I just don't want anybody to feel like you're ever alone, because you're never alone in this business. We do this as a team sport. And, you know, we're always here to guide and support, and Boxer is our best friend too, because that really helps. All right, it is getting late, so I'm going to stop right there. If you guys have additional questions or anything that comes up after this call that you want to address, just put it into the Honeybees Boxer chat, type it in as a question, and then we can respond back to the group so you can all get some answers, just out of respect for time. And I do want to say, for those of you who are coming to conference, I am officially on the committee for the cotton team, which is our basically our grandparents in the business. They've got a bigger team, and we have like about 150 people coming together for a party in the park with games and cash prizes and food trucks and the whole galore. And it is going to be really awesome. And I'm in charge of the fun department, so I promise you it'll be great. So if you're coming to conference, just know that Saturday afternoon after conference from 1 to 3-ish, that time frame, we're going to be in the park having some fun. So yeah, and more details to follow. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming on tonight. Love you all. Let's go get them and have a great week, and take out those calendars. And I lost you. Where am I? There you are. Sorry. I hit my update button and it took me to a whole different screen. But have a great night. And yeah, and I'll be circling around to get all the details on who's, rooming with who, and make sure everybody's got a place to stay in Sacramento. Okay. Have a great one.
Thanks, Melissa.
Buddy.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.